Welcome to your doom.
Hello, my prodigal sons and daughters. I am your humble host, Hollywood. In the light of the recently disappointing Phantom Fury, I'd like to shed some light on a few promising boomer shooters that are set to release this year, and maybe we can relieve some of that Phantom pain. I specifically chose games that have a demo available on the Steam page, so you can try these for yourself to see if it's something you would buy. This list isn't really in any particular order, and I'll tell you what, I enjoyed a couple of these far more than I imagined I would. I will be buying all of them if and when they release. And I did save my most anticipated title for last. If anything looks interesting to you, be sure to put it on your wish list, as that's one of the best ways to support these developers while the game is in production. If you find I missed something, let me know about it in the comments, and I'll be sure to check it out. Thanks for watching, and let's get into it. The first game I'd like to take a look at is Coven. This game is a hyper-violent action title in the vein of Blood and Heretic. After playing this demo for an hour, I am hopeful this will be one to watch, with its PlayStation 1 visual style and old-school charm. The demo gives you access to the first few levels, and Coven quickly establishes a unique identity that has elements of Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver, mixed with nightmare creatures and blood. Classic PlayStation fans will be pleased with the simple visual aesthetic that focuses on the gore and mostly linear level design. Coven seems to know what it's going for, and the story sees our protagonist burned at the stake as a witch, while Puritan-style peasants and simpletons watch and revel in the needless carnage. Whether we were actually a witch or not is irrelevant, as we are brought back from the void to exact bloody revenge on anyone in the vicinity. We find ourselves in a low-poly Salem wannabe, and the combat is the best part of Coven. Axes, flintlock pistols, and shotguns round out the arsenal, along with a few spells to sell the witchcraft. The fanatical enemies react dynamically to locational damage and dismemberment, and it's a hell of a lot of fun to shotgun blast some poor bastard's bottom half off and watch him crawl aimlessly for a few feet before giving up the ghost. What was very surprising is the gameplay mechanic of devouring the corpses to regain health. As a newly minted creature of the night, we have an appetite more gruesome and insatiable than a Gene Simmons afterparty. It's metal as hell, and nothing is more hardcore than gorging yourself on your fallen enemy's dismembered member. It's actually an important feature to the game as the main way to regain your health. The combat can be tough as nails too, because ammo is so scarce around the environment. This makes the difficulty a little artificial, but that's okay, as long as the player understands the nature of the combat, and to preserve as much as they can. It also forces the player to use more of the tools at their disposal. This is one area of the game that needs to be cleaned up a bit, as the weapon selection and spells aren't well implemented. The music is eerie and penetrating as you explore your surroundings, but as soon as a mob of enemies show up, hardcore metal guitar and beats accompany the melodic and haunting music to seamlessly change the feeling and tone of the world. The sound design is impressive, and it's a reason I chose this game for the list. The demo is very generous by offering 3 full levels to try out, and chasing down the priest that sentenced you to death reveals a deeper plot to uncover, with ancient gods and demons pulling the strings to manipulate mankind into submission. A disclaimer for the religious people watching. Coven doesn't paint a pretty picture of Christianity, or religion in general, so enjoy it for the fiction it is, and don't take it personally. I even enjoyed the loading screens between the levels that gave a tabletop map to indicate progression, that evoked memories of Golden Axe and the hand-drawn map that followed the player's progress between levels. There is a lot to love here, and I had a good time with it, but there were a few issues that need to be ironed out, like some combat balancing, and tweaking some control mechanics that aren't clearly laid out. Also, there is a cross-dimensional mechanic similar to Soul Reaver that reveals pathways through the levels, but this mechanic is woefully underutilized in the demo. But hopefully Gator Shins will have enough time to dial this in, because this is looking great so far. Coven is set for a nebulous 2024 release date as of this writing, so check it out and wishlist this if it appeals to you. Next on the docket is Fallen Aces. This slick comic book action game is dripping with style. The hand-drawn art is gorgeous, and the world feels straight out of the classic comics of the early 1900s. Dick Tracy and the Spirit are obvious inspirations for this crime noir drama. You can almost smell the stale cigarette smoke hanging heavy in the air, as this demo makes one hell of an impression. The comic panels set the stage for the excellent environment and brutal melee system. We have a vigilante like the Spirit, giving us direction through a two-way radio to save Dahlia Price. The Zeppelin floating in the skybox and the engorged moon add more layers to this already impressive presentation. The music reacts to your actions accordingly, with punctuated tones for stealth takedowns that really nail the feeling this game is going for.
I don't know why the boss got me watching this stupid rooftop. I should be out there busting heads. I wish some poor sap would try and hit me. Just try it. Hell, I could even turn my back on it.
Sleep tight, asshole.
Combat is mostly excellent, as everything can be used as an impromptu weapon. Barrels and trash cans are thrown with extreme force to open up enemies to further attacks, and this game's version of Duke's mighty boot. Bottles turn from blunt objects to a bladed weapon as you break it over thugs' heads and stab them in the face for looking so ugly. It's over the top and disgustingly brutal to watch, and the feedback of the comic book art style is meaty and responsive. You can even eat a banana and throw a peel to make the mooks slip on the grimy ground. Imagine my surprise when I dropped one of the thugs onto the trolley tracks, just to see what would happen.
Holy shit.
I am ashamed to say that everyone got the same treatment. The weapon degradation system ensures you aren't too overpowered most of the time. The rudimentary stealth system works some of the time, with a shadow exposure system that can be abused to hide in plain sight. Seriously, it was easy to make these guys forget you were even there in about 2 seconds, and the detection system is a complete joke. That was my biggest issue with my time in the Fallen Aces demo. Well, that and the respawn system is ridiculous. When you die, you simply spawn in at the entrance of the area, and all the enemies you took out stay out. There are 0 penalties to dying as you come back with full health. I assume this is just a working mechanic, and this will be addressed before release. But if this game manages to keep the quality of the gameplay and the storytelling as high as the quality of the visual presentation, then we may well be looking at a modern classic in the making. New Blood is publishing this promising game, with Trey Powell and Jason Bond developing. The release date simply says coming soon, so here's hoping that remains true. This is definitely one to monitor. While we're on the subject of stylish games with a comic book flair, let's talk about Mullet Mad Jack. As stylish and awesome as Fallen Aces presents itself, it is only a corn kernel in Mullet Mad Jack's turd. This beautiful game is like a marriage between a violent, over-the-top anime and Knight Rider without the car. The gameplay can be summed up by asking yourself, what the fuck just happened? Things happen so fast that often I just found myself clicking and praying that I was headed in the right direction, because I sure as hell had no idea which way the exit was. Somehow, it was still a blast every time I reached the end of the level. The premise is simple. Fight your way through floors of a building to rescue the influencer princess at the top. The 80s aesthetic and bumping soundtrack pound their way into your head, and it's hard to think about anything else. The feathered mullet of Mad Jack would make vintage Mel Gibson green with envy. It is glorious to behold. Like Ghost in the Shell and Cyberpunk 2077 had an illegitimate child that was adopted by Super Mario and Mr. Beast. The tongue-in-cheek satire on the current state of the Union is top-notch, as the narrative not so subtly pokes fun at the instant gratification needs of the masses, and the drip-feed of lifeblood into the player keeps them alive as long as you are entertaining. If you are boring to watch, you die, so kill as fast and creatively as you can, unless you want some other influencer wannabe to take their shot at saving the princess. The entertainment economy is a vicious place, and the cost of pleasing the masses can mean your life, because you already sold your soul. Mullet Mad Jack is a mad dash through levels to gain upgrades for your run. and this is a unique take on the roguelike genre that begs to be played. I wound up playing for 25 minutes, and I can honestly say I have never played anything quite like this. I am not a huge fan of anime. I don't even have a favorite, because I only know like 2 or 3, and I have never watched one beyond a short clip here and there. But this I like. Mullet Mad Jack hits all the right notes for me, and I can't wait to create a bloody symphony when it releases on May 15th. I may be getting a little old for something this fast-paced, but that's not going to stop me from trying. This is going to be good. Maybe a complete reversal from Mullet Mad Jack in presentation stands my next pick of Sulfur. This simplistic dungeon-crawling roguelite sees a priest tracking a witch through what is possibly the afterlife, in a quest for revenge after she committed an act of arson on our church and congregation. The cutesy graphics are hand-drawn and adorable, but that doesn't stop the disturbing imagery of goblin mutilation from happening. The damage models are surprisingly detailed for such a charming appearance. Slaughtering wicked little imps has never been more precious. Maybe if you count the recent Cult of the Lamb, this game is on the short list of delightfully surreal horror. While the artwork is uncomplicated and a little elementary, there is a lot going on gameplay-wise. This little game is shaping up to be a really decent dungeon dive, with pistols and fully automatic rifles and machine guns available in your arsenal, as well as a cool katana for close encounters that I kept forgetting to use because I'm terrible at games. Upgrades are abundant for your weapons, and they can be attached in any number of ways to diversify gameplay. Finding different articles of clothing will give armor ratings and unique properties, such as better swimming or higher jumping. Witches' cauldrons also litter the area as they bubble and toil and trouble. They will be used to create unique edibles or items by combining food and treasures found in the environment in the bubbling brew. You can craft a number of different items this way, but I had trouble with this feature in the demo. I didn't know the recipes or even what was possible, so I really didn't mess with it that much. But it scratches a bit of that Diablo itch when you uncover a new item or a weapon, and it's satisfying to cripple and maim the cute little denizens of this underworld. Dying to a horde of unwatered gremlins is embarrassing, and it will also send you topside to the church and home base where you can purchase new improvements and potions from the locals. Dying will also rob you of all the weapons and items you gathered in the previous run, but there is a way to teleport back to base and store those valuable items in a personal stash. So make sure to do that before you are met with a swift and cuddly end. Like a lot of modest and attractive people, there is a lot more to them when you take the time to get to know them. Sulfur has more complexity swirling just beneath the glassy sheen of the cauldron contents, if you're willing to take that dive. Sulfur is set for release sometime in 2024, so let's hope we get the full experience soon. Before I reveal my top pick, here's a bonus game that might interest you. It's called Death Relives, and it's a Resident Evil copycat that takes massive inspiration from the Spencer Mansion as well as the Baker estate. We find our main character, Adrian, searching for his kidnapped mother in a creepy and atmospheric mansion in the woods. Almost immediately, we are greeted with a Jack Baker clone that chases us around the mansion while trying to find our missing parent. This evil being is a reincarnated Aztec god that is actually a great concept. This mythology is hardly represented in games, and there is a ton of great material to work with. Tomb Raider gave it a crack with middling success, but it's nice to see a little more variety in the stories and characters than the standard zombies or sorcery that is usually on offer. The visuals are pretty solid for a small studio development, with obscene amounts of gore and viscera lining the environments. Shipa Totek is imposing and terrifying as you hide in the various closets and cupboards. His godly powers can sniff you out, and there is an unobtrusive minigame to keep your heart rate down to avoid detection that I thought was rather well done. There are puzzles similar to Resident Evil to solve in the environment to progress, and also a rebirth mechanic woven into the story and gameplay that is pretty unique in the genre, and taking down this Aztec god seals your fate as well. The lore and history that Nyctophile Studios have written the story around is fascinating. The love and passion they have in this project is written on every surface and mechanic in place. All in all, I'd say this game is my least exciting entry on the list, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't intrigued. Death Relives is undeniably rough around the edges, but this little game is punching well above its weight to deliver a horror experience that is uncommon and ambitious. I can't help but root for this little underdog to over-deliver on the ideas that they have obviously worked very hard on. Like Rocky Balboa getting a shot at the title fight, maybe Death Relives won't win the match, but boy is it working its ass off to try. Death Relives is set for a second quarter release in 2024, so maybe we can explore this derelict house of horrors sooner than we expect. Alright, if you couldn't tell by the thumbnail that Selaco was going to be my first choice on this list, then maybe you're one of exactly 2 people that haven't heard of this upcoming action sci-fi adventure by Altered Orbit Studios. This game is very high profile in the genre for good reasons. The gunplay is Brutal Doom meets Half-Life. The environments are wildly detailed and very interactive. There is a massive amount of world building present with every kiosk, firearm, med station, and Roomba vacuum littering the locales. I probably wouldn't label Selaco as an immersive simulation, but it is definitely blurring the lines between Doom, System Shock, and Fear. The mind-blowing demo sees our heroine, Dawn, trying to escape from a hospital that is under siege by unknown assailants. Blowing apart the bad guys and the environments is stunning. The inspiration Fear had on Altered Orbit is readily apparent, as shreds of plaster, steel, and glass cascade around you, while the enemy soldiers pop like party favors in a pink and purple mist. I can't wait for the full release in a few weeks, to see how in-depth this story is and where they take it. What we know for now is that Selaco is an underground facility that houses many thousands of refugees after the fall of the Earth. This facility is now being invaded, and the story follows Dawn as an ace security captain and her investigation into Selaco's vague origins. Beyond the destructibility of the environments, I don't think Selaco is quite as interactive as Ion Fury and Aftershock, but this game is my biggest hope to cure the Phantom Fury blues. Take my money already, because this unbelievable game is set to release on May 30th. They have put years of work into this project, and I don't see a reason why Selaco won't release on schedule. I don't want to overhype this game, as that would be incredibly unfair, but I definitely see this title as one of the top games of 2024. But time will tell, and there you have it, 5 games to look forward to after Phantom Fury, plus a bonus pick of Death Relives that I hope will live up to the potential that the demo established. If any of the games on this list look interesting to you, be sure to wishlist it on Steam to help out those developers. Thanks for watching, and if this video interested you, please like and subscribe for more content like this. Leave a comment on your upcoming picks if I missed something, and I will be sure to check it out. Take care, you crazy kids.